I know that after the first minute of this video, some of you might think you've seen this content before, especially on this channel. But this time, it's different. I decided to level up the content and give it a fresh spin so the difference really stands out. Today's video is a test for this new style. I want to see how it resonates with you. So, I need your feedback. Do you like the new approach, even if it means fewer uploads, or do you prefer the old style with daily uploads? Let me know in the comments, and give this video a like if you're into this new direction. Alright, I'll let you jump into the video now.
Audio Jungle.
On the surface of the sea, a massive ship with 3 huge masts swayed slightly with the waves. From afar, this giant ship looked like a great white whale, floating majestically and proudly on the water. Huge, strong, and steady. An immense power, even the sea seemed hesitant to challenge its might, unable to stir up waves around it. On either side, there were 4 smaller warships of the same design trailing behind, forming a strong and fearsome fleet together. These 5 warships were the main fleet of the globally renowned Whitebeard Pirates. The gigantic 3-masted ship in the center, resembling the white whale, was the flagship of the Whitebeard crew, Moby Dick. On the main deck of the Moby Dick, Whitebeard, wearing his famous white-faced red-bottomed cape, sat in his chair on the deck. Beside him, several nurses in pink skirts were busy helping him change his foredrip. Although his body was gradually weakening, Whitebeard's gaze remained steady and imposing as he looked over 15 squad captains standing on the deck, one by one. Whitebeard.
You all heard me right. I've decided to appoint Roja as the Vice Emperor from now on.
The person questioned shook his head nonchalantly, clearly unfamiliar with the name. Fortunately, there were enough senior members present, and through a quick discussion among those present, they pieced together some information about Roja.
Hey, have you heard of someone named Roja?
The person questioned shook his head nonchalantly, clearly unfamiliar with the name. Fortunately, there were enough senior members present, and through a quick discussion among those present, they pieced together some information about Roja.
Seems like he's a lookout on our main ship.
He's a trainee lookout, right? When we were playing cards last night, he mentioned that himself.
Yeah, he's the trainee, and if I'm not mistaken, he boarded the ship last month when we refilled water on that unnamed island.
This is a trainee among trainees, a new crew member for less than a month, and he's being promoted straight to Vice Emperor? What's his background?
An image of Roja's origins quickly formed among the crew members, and with sounds of shock and debate, the news reached the ears of the 15 captains. Marco, known as the Phoenix, was clearly not appointed as Vice Emperor by Whitebeard, but the whole group agreed he was second only to Whitebeard. At that moment, Father Whitebeard suddenly called all the captains and crew members and announced the appointment of this obscure person, Roja, as the Vice Emperor. Even Marco, who had always been calm and composed, couldn't help but feel dissatisfaction and disappointment. In terms of power, he possessed the super regeneration ability thanks to the Phoenix Fruit, along with the 2 hockey types, and no one in the crew, except for Captain Whitebeard, could surpass him. In terms of seniority, he had been accompanying Whitebeard for 30 years and was one of the few members with greater seniority. In terms of achievements, it could be said that everything the Whitebeard Pirates had accomplished to this day bore his indelible mark. Yet, this was Marco, who lost the competition for the Vice Emperor position without any warning to someone who had recently joined and spent less than a month in the crew. But his continued respect for Father Whitebeard forced Marco to suppress his resentment within and not explode right away. Foil Vista, who had always collaborated with Marco, was more hot-headed by nature, and he couldn't bear it any longer. Vista.
Where's Roja? Get out. Let me see how you got the Vice Emperor position.
With a click, he unsheathed his twin Western swords from his waist, delivering a powerful slash that sliced through the air in front of him. This strike cut through the air, creating a lingering gash that remained unhealed for a long time, showcasing his intense anger.
Laughs. Don't mind what's going on, Vista.
Whitebeard always treated his subordinates with tolerance as if they were family, so he wasn't bothered by Vista's obvious arrogance. He let out a short laugh, tilted his head slightly, and gazed at the sky. Marco, thinking to himself, this arrogant guy, how could he be qualified for the Vice Emperor position in the Whitebeard Pirates? The captain needs to change his mind and rescind this ridiculous appointment. While he was pondering this, Marco stepped forward, about to address Whitebeard, but he saw Vista jump toward the young man lying on the mast in midair. As the 5th squad captain and one of the veterans who had accompanied Whitebeard for over 30 years, Vista had undeniable experience and combat capability.
5th Squad Captain, Vista, challenges his Vice Emperor Roja.
As Vista climbed to the highest point of the mast, he announced his challenge loudly. After shouting, regardless of Roja's reaction, he unleashed his most spectacular and captivating move, Rose Run. He drew 2 Western swords, each about 2 meters long, and slashed them rapidly through the air, forming beautiful red rose petals that fell toward Roja's body. These petals seemed to fall slowly, but in reality, they were extremely fast. In almost the blink of an eye, they had descended upon Roja. A distinct smile also appeared on Vista's face at the same moment. Even though he felt sorry for Marco losing the Vice Emperor position, he didn't dare to break Whitebeard's rule against killing comrades. So this time, he was using Rose Run with caution. Vista's got one clear goal here: get every pirate on the ship to watch, then rip this jerk's clothes apart right in front of everyone without a scratch on that oily skin. No harm, but full humiliation.
Sir, the new Vice Emperor, allow me, under the might of my greatsword, to make you a permanent joke to the Whitebeard Pirates.
The rose petals look beautiful, but they're packing major sword energy. Under Vista's impressive control, they can cut through anything he wants. In an instant, the petals closed in on Roja, who seemed completely unprepared.
It's over, this guy's luck just ran out.
Some of the pirates who'd grown friendly with Roja turned away, not able to stomach watching him get shredded by Vista's signature move.
Even if Roja doesn't seem that reliable, Vista picking on him like this? I'm afraid it's gonna leave some bad blood. Anyway, he's still the Vice Emperor, handpicked by Pops himself.
Many captains, Marco included, noticed Vista's intent in this attack, and they were a bit worried about the relationship between Vista and the new Vice Emperor. As the rose petals floated down, Vista had already sheathed his sword. He gracefully landed on the deck, crossing his arms with a smug smile, waiting for Roja to wake up. Pirates stared at Roja, shocked at how stripped of dignity he looked. When Vista dropped down next to Roja, the rose petals fell on him. Right then, Vista felt something strange. The image of Roja seemed to twist a little, and then, suddenly, the petals he cut through just vanished.
What the... Is this hockey? Or some kind of fruit? Vista's eyes widened, and he started falling even faster, unable to quite process what happened in that brief moment. He landed gently on the deck, but his heart was racing. Why'd the rose petals disappear, like they got eaten by something? Marco, also feeling tense, looked at Jaws next to him, and seeing his shock too, knew he hadn't imagined it.
Vista's big move totally failed. Not blocked. Not dodged, just useless.
The captains exchanged looks, all equally confused and stunned. Vista's attempt to humiliate Roja on purpose? Completely foiled in a way they couldn't even start to understand. What seemed impossible was now reality, witnessed by everyone. The core crew and regular crew members who'd been watching the show didn't have the same experience or arrogance as the captains, so they couldn't see clearly what happened. Logically, Roja should have been crushed by Vista's power, but looking at Vista's face now, why did he seem like the one who got crushed instead?
Hey man, what just happened?
I dunno, all I saw was Captain Vista's attack.
Don't be saying random stuff if you don't get it. How could it be a sneak attack? He yelled twice before he did anything, giving Roja enough time to react. That's not a sneak attack.
Sneak or no sneak, it looked like Roja dodged, but then didn't dodge at all anyway, it just missed.
Vista's eye twitched, anger flickering in his gaze. Yet he couldn't quite recall exactly what he'd seen in that moment.
Was that the perfect counter?
With endless doubts and shock, Vista pushed off the ground, flying back up to where Roja was laying. Sure enough, Roja was totally unharmed, though his body was twisted slightly. Even though it wasn't obvious, for a master swordsman like Vista, it was a clear movement. With that hint, Vista finally pieced together what happened in that split second. As the rose petals fell thickly, Roja instinctively tried to avoid them, but seeing he couldn't dodge, he just let them fall on him. And then nothing. The petals melted away like snow in sunlight, vanishing completely.
So, he really is just asleep, not faking it?
Vista's heart raced as he quickly called on his haki, straining to sense Roja's presence. But no matter how much he confirmed, the result was the same. Roja was in deep sleep right there.
How'd he avoid my move perfectly in his sleep?
Vista felt a headache throbbing in his temples, his blood pressure shooting up so high his brain's blood vessels nearly burst, and a ringing filled his ears. No, this isn't just dodging. He turned my sword energy into nothing. If it doesn't get resolved, even if he dodged, the mast beneath him wouldn't be intact.
What kind of power is this? Even a Logia-type devil fruit can't do that at all.
Standing there, Vista looked utterly bewildered, mentally running through every way Roja could have countered his move. On the deck, the crew's chatter grew louder and louder.
Hey guys, looks like Roja's really strong. Even Captain Vista couldn't beat him.
That's obvious. Pops himself made him the Vice Emperor, of course he's strong.
Something doesn't feel right. Looks like Roja's still asleep. Did Captain Vista just test him out and realize the guy's still knocked out, so he stopped?
That explanation sounded surprisingly logical. When Marco heard it, he looked over at Vista, suddenly doubting himself again. The main point here was that Vista's sword energy, which was wrapped in haki, had vanished without leaving any damage. It was something unbelievable.
Looks like Pops has a real understanding of Roja's strength. It's a big call in this situation. So, Pops, does that mean you're confident for the war ahead?
Thinking of that, Marco couldn't help but feel a bit bitter, any resentment fading away.
I can give the Vice Emperor position to whoever I want. Whether I hold the title or not doesn't change what I do, right?
The other leaders were in the same headspace as Marco at that moment, surprised by some anxious predictions. They had to ask themselves, if Roja wasn't in a deep sleep, then even if they did their best, none of them could solve the puzzle like Roja did. In an instant, that name was etched deep in the hearts of every leader. In any case, at the critical moment when they were about to go to the Navy HQ to rescue Ace, the appearance of such a top-notch expert was always a good thing for the Whitebeard Pirates. That way, even if he was allowed to take on the high position of Vice Emperor, what was the problem with that? Being able to save their family and Ace was the most important thing. The leaders had this awareness, while the knowledge of the core members and regular crew was much less. Vista's strangeness and the collective silence of the pirate leaders made everyone doubt that Vista had failed the challenge. As a result, the discussion got hotter.
Looking at the expressions of the leaders, it seems like Captain Vista really got defeated.
Defeated? You just said that Captain Vista was trying.
Bullshit. The captain can't be defeated. How could he lose to a rookie observer?
Any rookie observer, Mr. Roja is now the Vice Emperor. Isn't it normal for the captain to lose to the Vice Emperor?
Even Whitebeard remained silent, and of course, the pirates below began to grow bolder, their faces flushed as they made a lot of noise.
It's so loud? Don't we have a meeting? No matter how much noise there is, people can't sleep well.
Roja slapped his ear in discomfort and sat down helplessly.
Hey, Brother Vista, why are you standing there? Do you want to mimic others and fly like dragons? Be careful, I'll hit you,
Roja said, shaking his fist playfully. Unexpectedly, this move terrified Vista, who had already been shocked. He saw him jump back to get away, followed by a thud as he drew his swords again.
Even though I'm not your opponent, I'll do my best. Go ahead and attack. New Vice Emperor.
He looked like he was facing a big enemy but was ready to die. Meanwhile, Roja, who hadn't fully woken up yet, was a little confused.
New Vice Emperor? Are you talking about me?
At that moment, Roja finally regained his awareness, jumped down from the mast, and landed gently in front of Whitebeard.
Hey, old man, you're being really unfair. While I was sleeping, you were trying to put a hat on my head and increase my burden, weren't you?
Whitebeard laughed loudly, extending his hand to stroke his crescent-shaped white beard, but he didn't speak. A number of elder individuals who knew him well, like Marco and Vista, were once again shocked. They knew full well that Whitebeard's laughter and gesture were expressions of his guilt. So, did the old man take advantage of others' sleep to first come in for the kill and then play around, forcefully placing the hat and responsibility of Vice Emperor on Roja's head? Moreover, in the face of Roja's arrogant behavior, the father didn't get angry but seemed ready to make peace. All the leaders and key people were collectively confused, but Roja was truly furious. Although he didn't mind being a pirate, otherwise, he wouldn't be on Whitebeard's main ship. The feeling of being appointed by someone out of the blue was unbearable. He was about to attack when suddenly the system's voice echoed.
Congratulations to the host. You have officially become a member of the Whitebeard Pirates and activated the achievement reward function.
After receiving the system alert, Roja temporarily set aside Whitebeard and clicked on the details to check.
Tusk. I thought it was something good, but it turned out that with the increase in bounty, attribute points can be granted as a reward.
For every increase of million, you are rewarded with attribute points, so it's not bad. Then he thought to himself,
if I can get a reward at the level of the 4 leaders, I can almost get attribute points, which is enough to elevate my type of domination to a maximum breakthrough state.
With that thought in mind, all aspects of the system information appeared in Roja's consciousness. Name, Roja. Occupation, pirate. Associated pirates, Whitebeard Pirates. Position, Vice President. Arrogant color domination, 0, undeveloped. Armed color domination, 0, undeveloped. Cognitive color domination, 1500, maximum breakthrough. Vitality, 999, maximum. Combat, 66, bar fights. Weapons, 0, undeveloped. Special skills, none. Bounty, 0, mystery. This personal template, Roja had no options at all. Initially, apart from the natural vitality of 999, the others were all 0. Fortunately, the system also provided 1,000 attribute points as a gift, so he wasn't disheartened. Roja allocated all the attribute points to cognitive domination. After reaching 1,000 points, the dominant power of knowledge was directly added to the maximum evolution state. In this state of maximum evolution, cognitive domination transcended the internal function that enhances perception to an exaggerated degree that could be released externally all at once. Roja was completely surrounded by an invisible dominant aura all the time, allowing him to automatically avoid any attack without any points of death, even when he lost his active consciousness, like being drunk or asleep. Of course, Roja was very satisfied with this exaggerated defensive effect. However, after ascending to Moby Dick, the system granted another 500 attribute points. Then he thought to himself,
what if I use these 500 attribute points again on the excessively evolved cognitive domination? What will happen?
Thus, there were now 1,500 points, excessively evolved cognitive domination. At that time, cognitive domination exceeded the limits of domination and became a presence similar to a field, the effect of which could only be described as miraculous. Roja called it the field of knowledge and color. Then he thought to himself,
no wonder Whitebeard is one of the 4 leaders. He constrained the field of knowledge to this degree, yet still saw the evidence and forced me to be Vice Emperor. This indirectly compels me to help him rescue Ace.
Roja looked back at Whitebeard, who was pleading with him, and finally softened his heart. What could be wrong with an old father who just wanted to keep his big family safe at sea and rescue his beloved son? Roja sighed gently and said helplessly,
all right, I'll temporarily accept the position of Vice Emperor.
Upon hearing these words, Whitebeard immediately became very happy, and his beard puffed out even more elegantly.
However, let me clarify from the start. I won't help you fight or kill the Navy. You can only rely on yourself.
Seeing that the old father was worried, what he received in return was this arrogant attitude from Roja. Of course, all the leaders were very displeased. Marco frowned slightly, but when he saw his father's relieved expression, he suddenly understood something and finally relaxed his brow, revealing a smile. Just as he was about to approach to speak with Roja, a sudden change occurred. I saw Zhang, the captain of the 16th Division, suddenly pull out his 2 pistols from his waist, aiming them at Roja and pulling the trigger. The moment he made that move, it was his signature move, Dan Zhan Wan. The color of the dominating power was wrapped tightly around each steel ball, forming a dominating ring. On top of the launch's kinetic energy, he added a layer of dominating slicing effect, making the power tremendous, of course. The irregular spin of the bullet after hitting the target drastically reduced the slicing impact, making it much more ferocious than regular bullets. Even though the other captains were dumbfounded by this sudden situation, they were powerless to stop it. Under the influence of the dominance, the bullets were traveling at an incredibly high speed, and the incident happened so quickly that they had very little time to react. Still, Marco, who was closest to Roja, tried his hardest to throw a punch, attempting to help Roja and share some of the pressure. But his punch was just a bit too slow and didn't hinder the trajectory of Dan Zhan Wan. However, in the face of this sudden attack, Roja didn't panic at all. Instead, he even smiled at the corner of his mouth. With that kind of speed, it was impossible for him to be hit. Just a few bullets, if they managed to take even a single hair from Roja, that would be considered a victory. Moreover, Roja had predicted all of his actions based on the effect of the negative cognitive field even before Zhang drew his gun. He clearly realized long ago that there was no intent to kill in those bullets. Roja watched with relief as the bullets flew towards him, then disappeared without a trace less than a centimeter away from his body. At the same time, he secretly smiled and said,
"Since you still want to watch, I'll let you watch enough."
Marco waited with the other captains, then remembered that Vista's special move Roserand had disappeared in a strange way. Even though he had seen it once before, this time he viewed it from ground level, which was even more shocking than the first time he saw it. Marco even forgot to pull his fist back, staring at the spot where Dan Zhan Wan had disappeared, completely frozen and not moving at all. The core team members fell silent, their mouths agape in shock. Vista's Roserand had no effect at all. The bullets from Zhang, Dan Zhan, had vanished into thin air. Everyone looked at each other, having no idea what had just happened. Only Zhang was not surprised at all. Seeing that the bullets he fired had disappeared just as he had expected, a victorious smile appeared on Zhang's face, as if to say, "It wasn't what you expected." He puffed the smoke away from the barrel of his gun and stylishly returned it to its holster.
Everyone saw it. The power of the new Vice Emperor is indeed worthy of this position. Captain Vista's Roserand and my Dan Zhan Wan didn't reach him at all and were shattered by the powerful invisible field. Everyone, have you ever seen a power like this?
The pirates didn't know what to make of this unique display and explanation. No one was really excited about the power of the new Vice Emperor. The look in everyone's eyes towards Roja was now devoid of any doubts, instead filled with recognition and admiration. Of course, worshipping power is a common trait among pirates. Roja felt the enthusiasm in the eyes of all the pirates, and he felt a sense of accomplishment from their admiration, unable to prevent the corners of his mouth from rising higher. Zhang truly deserved to be the heir of the Hualulu dance school and the king of women's clothing. Such fine ideas and skilled public relations had produced outstanding results. It was easy to dispel the doubts in the hearts of most pirates and draw a strong, mysterious image of himself. Roja wanted to call it the strongest public relations. At that moment, Marco realized Zhang's intentions, seeing that Roja was smiling too and didn't mind his unconventional methods, so he breathed a sigh of relief.
"Welcome to the Whitebeard Pirates, Your Majesty."
Roja smiled slightly, shaking the hand of Marco, who showed kindness. Vista also approached, asking excitedly,
"Your Highness, can I ask you what kind of dominance or ability you just used to negate my influence and Zhang's influence?"
Roja had no intention of keeping it a secret when he saw that the color of the dominance had transformed into a field of power. He had obtained it by adding points in the system, and if others wanted to replicate it, they might have to pay an unimaginable price. He then opened his mouth to explain.
What I use is the field of knowledge and prestige.
The field of prestige, colored by knowledge?
The question posed by Vista was also of great interest to the other captains, as well as to Whitebeard himself. Making attacks completely disappear like that was unbelievable, and everyone wanted to know the truth. But this new term, which had never been heard before, once again exceeded their imagination. Everyone knew of prestige colored by knowledge, but what was this situation of the field of knowledge and prestige? Seeing that everyone was eager for knowledge, Roja continued.
After developing prestige to its utmost, if you rise to a higher level, you can reach the field.
Marco was confused and shocked, saying,
As far as I know, the development of prestige can be roughly divided into a lower level, intermediate level, and higher level. Very few can develop prestige to the higher level. After the final development, does it rise to a higher level and form a field? That's unbelievable.
Roja smiled slightly and expanded the field of knowledge and prestige that had been tightly wrapped around his body without any hesitation. The entire fleet was engulfed in the field of knowledge and prestige. No matter what he said, it wouldn't be as direct and effective as making them feel it for themselves. Roja smiled slightly and expanded the field of knowledge and prestige that had been tightly wrapped around his body without any hesitation. The entire fleet was engulfed in the field of knowledge and prestige. No matter what he said, it wouldn't be as direct and effective as making them feel it for themselves. Marco's expression froze, and he said in shock,
This feeling of being seen completely, is this the field of knowledge?
On the other hand, Vista was gripping the hilt of his sword tightly, breathing heavily, and said with difficulty,
It feels like someone in my consciousness is constantly dismantling my sword movements. No matter how I change my moves, they're fully exposed in an instant, and I can't resist at all. It's a terrifying field.
For Whitebeard, there was a real deterrent power, and it turned out he had used his prestige like the Master Controller directly against Roja's field of knowledge and prestige. But clearly, the effect wasn't as it should be, as Whitebeard's breaths were distinctly troubled. Yet that deterrent power had no effect on Roja. Precisely, in the field of knowledge and prestige, Whitebeard's prestige was suppressed to the point where it couldn't even form at all.
Dad isn't even a competitor.
The captains who struggled against this terrifying field couldn't contain their horror. This was the strongest man in their minds, the white-bearded father who had roamed the world for decades, finally suppressed by the field of knowledge and prestige.